Hello, everybody. Let me just check the sound here, see how I'm doing on that. Okay, yeah, you should be able to hear me. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. Just check the sound. All right. See how I'm doing on that. There we go. Welcome in, everyone. Hey V, welcome. So great to have you. Hey Stacy, welcome. Lovely to have you as well. Morgan, welcome. Hi Michael Wallace. Lovely to see you. Thank you guys for joining. Hey Amanda. Glory to God. Welcome. Hi. I'll be giving a full introduction in one moment, okay, Glory? And for the two of you who already hit the like button, thank you. Thank you so much. Awesome. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome. Hey, Charlotte Persephone. Howdy to you, too. Danette, awesome. Yeah, right? It's nice to have a little inspiration on days that are a little chill, given how crazy some of the days of 2020 have been. L.E. Anderson, welcome. Verena Teresa, lovely to have you here. Good evening, Rena, 1961. Great to have you. Hey, Allison Scoff, welcome. So lovely to have you here. All right. So, for everyone who's just joining, welcome. Thank you. It's a privilege and a pleasure to spend a little time with you this Friday. And for some of you, I know it is Saturday. Malia, thank you so much. Gemini Princess, be safe. Please be safe. Keep your eyes on the road, honey. Kathy Fuderman, welcome. So lovely to talk with you this week. Thank you for joining us today. So, this was a divinely inspired thing and community directed, I will also say. Welcome in, everyone, and thanks for hitting that like button and for subscribing if you are new here. My name is Kay. If you're new, I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And I have recently been in meditation about how I could be of greater service between now and the end of the year. The energies of 2020 have distinctly shifted since we hit the last Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. That was on June 30th. And between kind of the end of May and the end of July, that energy of that particular Jupiter-Pluto conjunction walked us through a portal that is allowing us to chart a course between now and the solstice on December 21st. And that solstice is extremely significant, both for the Lightworker community and the Twin Soul community, who are part of the greater Lightworker collective. One of the things that happens on December 21st is that there's a special alignment in the sky as both Jupiter and Juno, the planets that I read as divine feminine and divine masculine, move into new signs for the first time in about a year. And in this movement into new signs, the divine feminine moves into Sagittarius, the sign of truth and freedom and faith and hope and optimism. And the divine masculine moves into the sign of Aquarius, which is all about the new, the next, the revolution, the rebuild. and the reconstruction after a year of so much deconstruction, we're going to feel a massive polarity shift, a massive jump into a new timeline. But this particular space between the last solstice point and that, which was June 21st, and that Jupiter Pluto conjunction on June 30th, opened up a very sensitive and sacred passageway. And that passageway is allowing us to have some really intimate encounters with our own fears, with our own projections, with the life those projections have created for us via our mastery, whether we are aware that we are masterful in our creatorship or not. This particular passageway is opening up and awakening and allowing the Lightworker Collective to move into charting a new course, setting a new destination on the map, and giving us the opportunity to begin again, to choose anew, to create the new and the next path forward. But in order to do this, there is a call that has come for light workers to step into conscious awareness. Conscious awareness about the choices that have been made up until now, that have created the experiences that we've been living in our individual lives and as a collective. Conscious awareness about the way those choices may not have been things we wanted to experience, but were part of our templating and our conditioning, and a conscious opportunity to step into a deconditioning, a moment of releasing those templates that perhaps have created distortions of love, distortions of connection, distortions of light, in our attempt to ground more while also living in a very human experience. Those distortions can present as attempts to control others, or others allowing others to succeed in their attempts to control us. Those distortions can also present as holdbacks in living your light work, recognizing what you need to do, but feeling either afraid or uncertain or hesitant in stepping forward with it fully. And those distortions can also present as leveraging the energy of your twin connection, but doing so from the human template of relationships, the ordinary human template of relationships. As many of you know, the twin connection comes with a very high vibrational energy of love. It's a type of love that, ooh, my God, it'll knock you back. It'll knock you on your keister, as some people will say. And simultaneously trying to understand it from the templates and the conditioning given to human beings about what relationships are and how they should be, can actually distort the twin connection and cause you quite a bit of pain as you try to navigate it. And so when I sat in meditation about, okay, how can I be of service as we've moved into this change point passageway, this very sacred period of time, I decided, okay, well, rather than me sitting here trying to intuit what people need, I asked the people who had already been a part of my private list community. And I asked the private listers, I said, here's what I know how to do. What would you have me teach? Based on everything I know how to give, what would you have me share? And three things really came forward. And a place for community, a place for conversation, a container for mentorship on the conversations about love and the way love actually operates, whether you are grounding love as a light worker or grounding love as a twin and or both consciously. the request came forward to please provide us with a place where we can understand better where we're at and step into creatorship and mastery with less distortion and less confusion, and give us a way to talk through what's happening. So here we are. That is how Q&A with Kay, the private mentorship program for twins and lightworkers, was born. It is a 4-week group program. There are 3 scheduled sessions, and the way they all work, and we're going to walk through what a session is going to be like in a moment, so you can have the chance to experience it for free today. And the way this is going to work is there's going to be a meditation at the start of every session, and we're going to jump into meditation in a moment. It'll be a short centering, and there will be different meditations each time to give you the opportunity to connect, to ground, to protect, to give yourself the opportunity to reclaim energetic power and sovereignty, no matter the situation you're in. After the short meditation, there will be a short teaching. There are 3 topics already pre-picked for Q&A with Kay, and there's a topic pre-picked for tonight. But the final session, a bonus session, will be picked by the community and the soul tribe that's assembled for Q&A with Kay. And it'll either be something direct channeled from my guides or something that I can teach if that's what you've chosen as a collective, a community. And then after the 10-minute, 15-minute teaching session, we'll open the floor and we'll just have dialogue, laser coaching, and conversation for support so that you can unpack some of the challenges that you've been facing that a psychic reading can't answer for you, a medium can't answer for you, and an astrology reading can't answer for you. We're going to take a look at some of the more challenging energies around how do I actually step out of the human template of love, given that I don't necessarily have a full teaching on what the path forward could look like from here. How do I anchor and hold that vibration of love in my work setting as a light worker, given that this isn't really a role that has a job description? How do I hold that center? So we'll do about 60 to 70 minutes of that, and then we'll close. We'll close out for the evening. If you know you'd really like to sign up for Q&A with Kay, you can do so over at kmoonastro.com. I just pasted the link there for you so you can find it, but you don't have to if you're not called to it. This is just an opportunity tonight for us to come together as Soul Tribe to talk through some of the experiences that you know you're ready to release as you step into this transformational passageway between now and December 21st. So let's begin. Hey, Sandra and Alan, Twin Flame Divine Fire in the house. Great to see you guys. Thank you so much for everything the 2 of you do. The 2 of you are such a gift, blessing, and a pleasure to work with. All right. Thank you so much, Rena and LaShawn. Lady Love, hello and welcome. So great to have you guys here. Hey, the vent, lovely to have you. Oh, I'm so glad that that was on point. So happy that was on point. Jamie, you are welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the meditation. We'll do about 5 minutes of that. Then I'll do a short teaching. Then we'll open the floor. Okay, so start thinking of your questions. If you'd like to participate in the meditation, you are more than welcome to. Go ahead and place yourself in whatever meditative posture is most comfortable for you. There you go. And whether you're seated or laying down, or sitting with both feet flat on the floor, gently bring your attention to your heart center. And just notice the sensations happening right there in the center of your chest. Even if there's no sensation at the moment, just notice. If it helps, feel free to place a hand over your heart. If you're a visualizer, go ahead and begin to visualize a point of light in the center of your chest that's beginning to expand. If you're not a visualizer, just allow yourself to breathe into that heart space, allowing love in with every inhale and with every exhale, releasing worry, fear, tension, or anxiety. And as that point of light expands, allow it to begin to press just outside of the boundaries of your body. And notice how safe you are in this moment with an open heart. And if you're breathing, just notice how the sensations change with every inhale as you inhale love. What shifts in your body? Just notice how safe it is to feel love throughout your entire being. And if you're visualizing, allow that point of light to expand to now incorporate your entire body so that your entire body is seated in a field of love emanating from your heart. Breathing in love, releasing grief. Breathing in love, releasing the need to know. Breathing in love, releasing anger. Breathing in love, releasing frustration. And just give yourself the opportunity to see again how safe you are experiencing love. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no expectations. Notice how neutral love is. Very good. And that was today's 7-minute meditation, you guys. Thank you. It's a meditation I call Becoming Love. You're welcome to use that tool whenever you're ready. So I'm going to begin today's mini teaching. Let me just set my little timer here so I don't sail off into the wind. We'll do 10 minutes today. As I centered myself prior to this experience to look for today's mini teaching, the thing that my guides brought forward to have as a topic of discussion for today is the power of forgiveness and the breakthrough opportunity it gives us to be restored to love and to our own sovereignty. Not too long ago, my guides brought me a visualization that helped me understand this. And I recorded this. There's a video in the channeled playlist called Missing Piece to End Twin Flame Runner Chaser Cycles. And they mapped out for me how in the connection, one of the things that allows runner chaser cycles to perpetuate is the opening up of timelines and the solidification of those timelines via the frequency of unforgiveness. What they were talking about there is the power of the mind, its immense capacity to create new timelines and new dimensions with our choices. So they were essentially explaining that, you know, today, let's say tomorrow is your Saturday or your Sunday, you wake up and you decide, screw it all, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to sit by the ocean. And no matter what today's plans were, you ditch them to go sit by the ocean. The day's plans had a particular flow of events that were predetermined based on the fact that you had made the choice to have them. When you make a new choice to move in a different direction, now there's a new timeline that opens up. One of the things that can happen that causes timelines to shift or to solidify in a particular direction is when there is a lot of emotionality anchored into a particular timeline. One of the most powerful emotions that can anchor a timeline is love. And one of the other powerful emotions that can anchor a timeline are any of the emotions that release the hormones in the physical body. So, oxytocin, adrenaline, all of the hormones associated with deep, intense feeling throughout the nervous system. When we are having interactions with our twin or in the workplace, for now, let's just focus on the twin connection because that's how that download came through. When we're having interactions with our divine counterpart and they make a new choice, a choice that seems somehow misaligned with the timeline that we thought we were living with them. The pain in that, if they should make a choice to be on a timeline that is very different than the one that we had built energetic momentum around, the pain in that, if it's either a separation or moving in a different direction, or a, hey, I can only offer you friendship at this time, or hey, I thought I was ready to move forward with you in a particular way, but I'm not. Once the pain in that is experienced throughout the physical body, what happens in the brain as the keeper of timelines, what happens in the brain is now split. There's a schism. And that schism includes the part of you that was on a very particular timeline in one direction with them, and the part of you that is now on this new timeline that's opened up with them. When we sit in sadness, grief, hurt, upset, anger, frustration, fear, anxiety, self-doubt, and or choose to divorce ourselves from the divine that is guiding the connection, the greater allness that we're all connected to when our heart is open, as we just experienced. When we choose to separate from that, what we do is, now that timeline is open, the one that didn't happen, but now we've also thrown energy at it that calcifies it. We've thrown energy at it that solidifies this timeline that you're not presently living. And there is a piece of your own power. There's a piece of your own energy that you have now projected into a place where your physical body does not actually exist. When we do such a thing, we have come into a place where we are separating ourselves from our access to our creatorship. It's like we're peeling off parts of ourself. We're diminishing our power when we do these things. The way to actually bring your power back home so that you have access to creating new timelines consciously, because that's an unconscious creatorship of a timeline. A new thing happened, boom, where there's a split. We thought we were going one way, we're actually going another way. Now we've got two timelines open. The way to bring self back home is, as my guides revealed to me, the act of forgiveness. Now, this can seem overly simplistic, but when they explained to me the way they understood forgiveness, it actually, I was like, oh, that's kind of hard. They were like, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. So oftentimes we think of forgiveness as, releasing, the other person from some sort of accountability or culpability for whatever harm might have gotten created. And so what we're looking at when we come into forgiveness, as they gave it to me, is they said it is the release of the expectation energy and the mental expectation that how it is somehow not how it should be, and that how it went is somehow other than how it should have gone. It is instead stepping into how it was is exactly what was supposed to happen. and fully integrating that as truth and reality. And how it is exactly how it is meant to be. And fully integrating that as truth and reality. When we can step into propping up that there could have, should have been something different, that schism collapses. There's a magnetized reintegration of self into this moment. More of your power arrives in this moment. And when it arrives in this moment, then you have greater access to choice, because you're no longer making choices based on what should have or could have been. You're now making choices fully anchored in what is so. And being with what's so, no resistance by could have, should have, would having, and zero expectation around it being somehow otherwise different. And being that anchored in the present moment, you can have conscious creatorship abilities over what happens in the very next moment from now. They explained this and they said, we understand that this, the act of forgiveness is an act of restoration of love for the past. When you're dealing with your divine counterpart and they have made choices that may have hurt you in the present, the act of forgiveness is what we call compassion in the present moment. It's releasing that they could have, should have, or need to have done something other than what they did. Releasing that. Once you release that, compassion and love are now the viable access points to creatorship. So that was a lot. And my 10 minutes are up, but I think I got through all the material that they wanted me to, recover or re-explain or redelineate here. So that was today's teaching. I thank you for listening. And we will now open up the Q&A portion of this. So when it comes to Q&A during this mentorship program and for this evening, questions can be about anything. Doesn't have to be about the teaching. And it doesn't have to be about being a twin. It can be about light work, whichever you want. It can be about your spiritual path, wherever you're at. This is a safe container where you can bring up what's going on for you. The only thing that I ask is that if you are in pain, if you are triggered, if you are suffering, that you do your best to presence and experience it from a state of self-love, as opposed to from a state of trying to make the group responsible for how you're feeling, because no one here wants you to suffer, least of all me. And that you do your best to look for and listen for your intuition and what's true for you, as you're listening to everyone else's information as well, and leave the rest for whom it may be true for. Okay? Let's go ahead and dive in. Thank you all for being here. And if you're already enjoying this and you're like, okay, yeah, I need this. We've got 4 weeks of it coming. It's called Q&A with Kay. It's the mentorship program, and you can sign up there, right there on my site. All right, so let me back up and see the questions. The vent asks, my twin said he had visions that I'll be dating someone else. And I'm like, can I change that? I don't know that you can change his visions, but you have mastery over your choices. So what I mean by that, as I'm tuning into the guidance around this, is there anything else here for Crystal? What I'm meaning by that is that his visions are a combination of his instincts, and our instincts are based on our previous and past experiences, our fears, and what we have seen to have happened that we can now calculate without needing to use the mind. Those are our instincts. Some of his intuition, but also the filter, so his mental constructs of life. That combination of things, as information flows to us from the divine, it has to come through the filter. They have to give us symbols that we can understand, as well as make it map into what it is we have. So depending upon, where his instincts are at and what his filters look like, that's going to be a piece of how a person's visions come to them. So can you change his visions? I don't know. But if you would rather not date anybody else, then don't. Now, if your twin happens to have a lot of mastery over intuitive visions and they're really comfortable with seeing both, what they would prefer not to see and what they prefer to see, so that they're a really clear channel, Crystal, I would say the best thing to do is to get really centered in your heart space. And that was the message for the Divine Feminine's 2020 journey from my guides. Back in November, they had said, we want you to get so centered in the heart space that there is nothing pre-calculated, that there is nothing premeditated, that every step you take is a step from the heart. From that place, you have the opportunity, and again, I think they're talking about timelines here. From that place, you have the opportunity to open up possibilities that previously may not have been accessible to you. But if there's a premeditation and a pre-calculation, it can be very difficult to access a timeline that is love-based, because those only exist when we are living and choosing from the heart, and the heart only understands now. And this is why it's so important to forgive and to deliver compassion, live from compassion. That's the only way to open up a timeline of love from a place of mastery. All right, then, I hope that was helpful. Amber Oasis, so deep. The stuff they tell me is deep. I'm like, okay, wait, what? Explain that again, guys. So hopefully I re-explained it in a way that was clear. Lady Love, thank you for being here. Eloise Hicks, acceptance has made all the difference for us. Eloise Hicks, if you could share a little bit about how it has made the difference for you guys, that would be phenomenal. Last Indigo, my twin's mother just threatened me should I ever seen out her son again. We've been in separation for more than 2.5 years. I was contacting him. He never responded. I'm shaken, to say the least. Wow, Last Indigo. I think that would shake a lot of people. There's just, because I don't have the full context there, the Last Indigo. I mean, if we were on the phone, like we will be in the live program, you can, share contextually kind of what happened, and I'd be able to give you some more guidance around that. But, my suspicion is that there's some fear-based energy that's kind of ping-ponging back and forth between you and him and her. And that fear-based energy is just like each person's triggers is triggering something new in the other person. And it's like a game of tennis, like triggering back and forth. So that being said, if threats are involved, that's not a very good thing, especially if there's threats to involve law officials or law enforcement. You definitely don't want to escalate someone's triggers into involving law enforcement if you can avoid it. Because once we've gone down that path, it's very difficult to restore love as a dominant frequency in the connection, but it's possible. Anything can happen once love is really anchored for two people. My suggestion would be is to start doing the work that you can, the last indigo, to really get centered in that frequency of love and that frequency of compassion. And that may take a little bit of time to be with what's so, to be with this is the truth of where those two human beings are actually at. That may take some time. So there could be grieving involved. There could be resistance involved. There could be, patterns of anger involved for you. And the thing for you to do is to just notice what your personal patterns of resistance are to what's happening. Can you psychic reading your way out of this? Can you have sex your way out of this with somebody else? Can you, dampen your feelings your way out of this with food or some other sort of addiction? Can you, there's so many ways that we enact resistance patterns to what's so. But the best thing, the most powerful thing you're going to be able to do is to find your way each day into getting centered in, wow, this is really where we are at. Okay. And I forgive me for my contributions to how we got here. I forgive them. And I allow myself to see how this is exactly how it is meant to be at this particular moment in time, because a moment is a moment, it's not a forever. It's tough to be willing to see that this is what's meant to be. It's a high calling to be willing to open your consciousness to that it could only be this way. But when you do that, you collapse timelines that would have been something different, and you bring home the part of you that's holding up that timeline and holding out on being a fully integrated being ready to create a future, a next step. Thank you for sharing the last indigo. Pamela Taylor, this would be a great guided meditation. Forgiveness. Yeah, right, Pamela? I totally agree. I may work on that. I may put that in my thing, in my to-do list. Alejandra Alfaro, forgiveness and unconditional love. That's what's been helping me get by. Yeah, Alejandra. If you want to share, Alejandra, how you cultivate that for yourself, that may be something that really helps the group. LaShawn Seidler, dealing with major spiritual oppositions of witchcraft coming against my union and partner because we are both called to change government policies. His emotions are being manipulated. I pray. LaShawn, that is beautiful. Prayer can truly be transformational, especially when your faith is in action. And by inaction, my friend talks about this a lot. My friend Mia, she says, faith is not a feeling, faith is a verb, it's an action. And you don't always feel what you are being faithful about or faithful over, but when you are acting as if what you are faithful over is real and true, that is how the universe and God coalesce to support. And you allow God and the universe to step in and support that reality and that protection. LaShawn Sadler, and this is one of the things I'll be doing throughout the Q&A with Kay mentorship program, is giving you guys access to my resource list and what I've, kind of the stuff I've done. LaShawn Sadler, I am no stranger to spiritual attacks. I didn't even know what they were when I was getting spiritually attacked, in my late teens, early 20s. But I have found that there is a practice called spiritual release therapy that can help you both release and deflect curse energy. It can also help remove dark force entities from you and your twin's field. There are several practitioners in the twin community specifically who are very gifted at it. One of them is Divine Pisces 222. You can see her channel. She's trained at spiritual release therapy. So is Made for Love, MAID, the number 4, LUV. Both of them trained really high vibrational divine feminine energies, really clear about the path of love. Like they are like love warriors. They both read and do readings, but they also offer spiritual release therapy. And then you can also check in when they're open again with Charlotte of Happy Twins 1111. She also does spirit release therapy for twins, but it's an opportunity to get you and your connection grounded, psychic attack energy removed, as well as the energy between the two of you moved back into a state of solidity so that you guys aren't, so much under the influence or so pervious to those kinds of attacks. Okay, LaShawn? So, what you're looking for is spirit release therapy. Check in with Made for Love, MAID 4 LUV. She's got a YouTube channel here. And Divine Pisces 222. I think they probably have openings before Charlotte does. Okay. If you want to research spirit release therapy, you can do so. There's actually the man who created it, Dr. Terrence Palmer, was working with people who struggle with schizophrenia and hearing voices. And what he recognized as a therapeutic approach was that sometimes these people are hearing and experiencing non incarnate entities that the rest of us are too sovereign to be able to tune into. But these people have such compromised spiritual boundaries that they're able to tune into these things. And he has found, study after study after study, that when you actually remove those entities and fortify a person's spiritual field, they actually come back to a state of sovereignty, clarity, and ability to act in their own wisdom. So you can look up Terrence Palmer, Palmer. You can look him up, and those should help. Any of those resources would help you and your twin quite a bit. Praying for the two of you, LaShawn. Hey, Goddess Supreme, welcome. Salma Suleiman, welcome. Grateful Divine Butterfly, welcome. Great to have you guys here. Let's see what the other questions are. Kylie, hey, sweetie. I'm so happy to see you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you to my awesome moderators. You guys are amazing. I'm so happy you guys are here. You're welcome. You're welcome, Allison. Okay. Let's see. The last indigo, I'm not angry, but my heart is broken. Yeah. The last indigo, I mean, what you just shared must have been a soul shock. So being present to the heartbreak is a great first step at coming back home to love. Glory to God. I have no questions. Just want to give thanks for that perfectly timed channeled message. Awesome. So grateful you're here, Glory. Pamela Taylor, what does crying during a meditation mean? Awesome question, Pamela. Any of the following are mechanisms of release that bypass the conscious mind: crying, shaking, laughing, sweating, and what was the other one? Crying, shaking, laughing, sweating, coughing can also be that as well. There was another one. But any of these are mechanisms via which trapped, stored energies that, once in contact with the vibrational frequency of love, neutrality, or release, or stasis, stillness, once you get into that placement energetically inside of you and choose it as a consciousness place, anything not aligned is cast out. And it can be cast out via laughing, crying, sweating, shaking, coughing, tearing up, the eyes can tear up. Even if you're not crying, your eyes can just begin to pour and stream and water. Those are all mechanisms of release from the physical body. You may even find, like, very normally, these are things that can happen for people during an intimate physical encounter. Those are all mechanisms of physiological release as you attune to a higher vibrational frequency, Pamela. Shayla Nikayla, releasing. Yeah, totally. You're welcome, Allison. I'm grateful you're here. CK, I've been thinking about timelines today. Thanks for talking about it. You're welcome. Okay. Let's see. Lady Love shares, in confidence in self, I'm doing my soul purpose work. My twin has reached out, but is not presenting to be ready for harmonious connection. I'm dating again and considering what's possible without twin. Awesome. Very good, Lady Love. Good for you. If it feels aligned to your heart, that is what there is to do. The last indigo, I'm moving forward in my life, but I'm going to have to leave him behind. And it could be, from conceptually stating Lady Love and the last indigo, any type of premeditation, like I'm going to do this, and that means that this cannot also be, that can't be, or I'm going to do that and I have to block this. Any type of premeditation, or, how do I put it? What are the right words here, Spirit? Okay, this is the words they gave me. Any attempt to conduct a future with information about another person that may or may not be true is going to conduct a future that is going to have falsities in it. And so, what there is to do is to simply stay centered in the place of love. And for now, self love, which doesn't necessarily mean defensiveness or protection, because you really are strong enough, capable enough to be with whatever comes your way, no matter what they're doing or how they do it. You can be with it. You are that strong. You are that anchored as a container of love. Any attempt to concoct or create a future that has it has to be this way because they are that way, is concocting a future based on a falsehood. All there is to do is just be in a place of love, and what isn't known now, trust that if it needs to be known to you, it will be made revealed at the correct time. And from that, one day at a time, one step at a time, choose love. Choose love. Choose love. That's it. Okay. Shay Israel, welcome. So glad to have you here, Shay Israel. Shamas 1111 just found out about twin flames. 33 years loving this man. I see things differently. Can I help him by showing him things about twin flames? I went through a lot of pain. Shamas, if you guys are actually in communication, Shamas, it could go really well if that's a conversation he's interested in, if that's a conversation he's curious about, if that's something that would help, some of the questions he has been bringing to you about, why do I feel this way? Why are you always on my mind? What's actually going on here? I don't know why I can't stay away from you. I don't know why we have to go back and forth like this. I always wonder, I always ask. If he's in curiosity about the connection, Shamas, then yeah, it's an indication that there's likely a level of openness about the conversation. However, Shamas, the connection, two things are true. Most often we want to bring the information to them because we want them to know what we know so that we can feel validated and less alone in the knowing it. Also, most often We want them to know what we know because we think somehow for them, it'll make it clear what their instructions are, what they're supposed to do. The twin connection is such a deep soul connection that there, first of all, I mean, 33 years, you already know the truth. It's not going to be broken. If it could break, it would have broken. It can't break. So this man isn't going anywhere in your life. That's truth number one to really center into. Truth number two to get centered about is that he can't and you can't really do this wrong. There's just the experiences that you're having together and that you're in one another's worlds. This is a union type of energy. It may not look the way you want it to look. And my guides were explaining this to me a while back. They said, you know, there are so many people who move through lifetimes trying to find one another as twins. And for whatever reason, time of incarnation is off, or, era, doesn't approve of the two of them coming together. And so they don't. For so many reasons, they don't come together, or they just miss each other. Once you've met, as challenging as it can be to experience something other than a blissful romantic walk into the castle living happily ever after, as challenging as it can be to experience something other than that, this is still an energy of the two of you experiencing and doing life together. So what there is to do, because the reality is this connection, it doesn't come with an instruction manual. Even if you tell him, hey, we're twin flames, guess what? This what that means, and et cetera, that doesn't mean that this is somehow suddenly going to make him behave in a very particular or different way. And that's what we have to check ourselves on when we're aware of the connection. The label doesn't come with an instruction manual. The only mandate there is to just stay in your heart. That's it. That's it. Stay centered and anchored in the heart. And from that place, different seasons in the connection will unfold. As after 33 years, I'm sure you've experienced. There are seasons where it's time for you to pull yourself inward and really look within and understand who you are and how you've been in the connection and what the connection's teaching you about love and your relationships other than him. Other times, love will say, move outward in the connection, make the connection with him, just see how he's doing, be supportive. Other times, love will say, okay, you're connected to him, and now we're going to allow you to be open to someone else, and someone else will come in and love with you in a very physical and intimate way. Love comes with freedom. It comes with a willingness to let this person live their lessons with their guides, however they are going to choose to do so. It comes with the opportunity to say, I trust that you are doing exactly what it is that you're called to do at any given moment, that you are living the life that you actually want to be living in any given moment. And while that may not be the life I choose to love you well enough to let you have your experience of the earth realm and the divine without me needing to control it. So if he's open and he's been saying to you, Shamas, hey, I really want to understand the twin thing. I really want to understand our connection. I don't understand this. If he's been signaling, I recognize there's something afoot here that I don't understand, and he is bringing that to you in conversation, then yeah, don't disclose. Don't withhold what is kind of right there hanging in the air. But if the desire for him to know is coming out of a need for him to start showing up differently, then there's work in you around the connection to work through. Okay. And that, that's, again, this is a mastery lesson. This is a mastery experience. Who am I? What am I trying to achieve here, Shamas? And there's a vulnerability needed in wanting to share that. So again, for those of you who are tuning in, this is a free view version of Q&A with Kay. That program starts next Friday on the 21st. You can sign up over at K Moon Astro. In the program, the mentorship program gives us the chance, like in that case with Shamas, I would get the chance to actually talk to you and hear your voice and coach you more directly because I would have gotten the chance to hear your circumstance. Okay. So if you want the opportunity to be in a private container in that way, sign up now. Enrollment closes next Wednesday, and you want to make sure you're signed up before the doors close. Okay. All right, Kathy Williams, public figure. My twin was in town for a month. We waved at each other on the beach, and it pained me so much not to see him. Otherwise, I felt like I did something wrong. My vibes weren't high enough for him to reach out. He did say last month that he's going through the biggest transformation in his life and does not want to communicate. Yeah, that's a very real thing, Kathy. In the Divine Masculines channeled messages 2020 through 2024, 2023, back in December, my guides explained that this is going to be a period of great transformation for divine masculines on planet Earth. The meetups specifically this year of Jupiter and Pluto 3 different times are forging a deep inner transformation for divine masculine energies that are forcing them to come to terms with the reality that they are not like other men. In that message video, I talk about the period of silence, and that there is a period of silence after they've come to terms with the fact that they aren't like other men and they're no longer pushing that reality away. And what there is to do in that period of silence for a divine feminine is respect it. Respect it, because what's happening during that time is they are coming into union with self. And that is the only space in which they are going to be able to step into a union with you or step into light work in the way that they're called to. If they are split from self, divorced from self, in a separation state, somehow cutting a part of themselves off, pretending like they're just like other men, they will not get there. But during the space when they're coming into union with self, they will withdraw, there will be silence, and it has to be respected. Because if we can't respect that union with self season for them, essentially what we are saying is, first of all, we're coming in with a need, a codependent need that requires them to be a certain way for us to be okay, which I gather you didn't do. Like, you really, sounds like you held back, which, I mean, as hard as it was, as painful as it was an appropriate thing to do. He gave you the communication. I cannot be in communication right now, and you have chosen to honor it. Simultaneously, you also want to do what you can to pull your energy back, pull the need back so that it's not in his field. And so that you are working with that energy for yourself around what is it, where does it come from, why is it here, how can I transmute this need energy, what is the actual need that this, kind of dressed up need for him is masquerading as, what is the real need underneath it, and how can I fulfill it between myself and the divine. Because during that union with self stage for divine masculines, when they go into that silence, If we try to get in there with them, given the way divine masculine energies are built, it's essentially saying it's not okay for you to get in union with self. The only union that you are permitted to have is the one with me. And if we try to get into that space, muscle into that silence that he needs in order to transform, in order to get into union with self, it will interrupt his capacity to come into self union, because he'll be in that space trying to protect us, procreate with us. He'll be in that space trying to provide for us, but he'll be doing it from a half of him place instead of from a whole him place. You don't trust, I mean, you already know you don't want to deal with half of a divine counterpart. Half of your divine counterpart can be extremely destructive for both of you. When you are half of you, you can be very destructive for both of you. So it's super critical when they go into the cocoon space for transformation. Let them sit in there. Let them sit, especially during this quarantine year where everybody's kind of like locked up with their issues in their house with no way to kind of like, hey, let's go to the bar. Let's not think about this for the rest of the weekend. Hey, let's shack up with whomever and not think about this for the rest of the week. I mean, if they're climbing into the cocoon in 2020, thank your lucky stars, because this is a year where they can't escape themselves at all. None of us can. Let them sit in there, girl. Hard as it is, you go into your cocoon and you do you. There's all kinds of gold in your cocoon for you to unpack. You just got to be willing to look inside your cocoon and just let him do his thing inside his. As hard as it is, there's something in there for you to observe for yourself about where you're at in your own union with self states. Believe me, girl, it's hard up in there. It's hard. Let's see. It's so confusing, Last Indigo says, because he and I refuse to date or sleep with others because we can feel it and it sucks. Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, the Last Indigo, again, that's a union energy state. So just trust that what's happening is what's supposed to happen. Sometimes they have to move into these places where it's like, I'm going to separate myself from you to see if this can be just like all my other exes that I can just get over by cutting them off. And they may take them a while to figure out that that's not how this connection works. But let them find their way to understanding that that's not how this works on their own, in their way. If you try to make them understand it in your way because you sent them links on Twin Flames, or in your way because you keep showing up at their house or whatever, you try to make them understand it in your way, again, it's asking them to divorce themselves from their sovereignty. And in so doing, you're asking them to, instead of relying on their own connection with the divine and their own heart center for truth, you're asking them to trust yours and submit themselves to yours. And that's not love at all. So it's hard to trust the process, but that's the best way forward. Okay. So Shamas shares, I'm a Reiki practitioner, massage therapist, and yoga instructor. I feel a pull to dive back into these. I've been dealing with health issues. I hit rock bottom. Wow, so grateful now. Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's so good you have those tools. Use them. Get someone to do Reiki on you, massage swap with someone you trust. Get someone to do assisted yoga for you. I mean, you already know a lot, but you don't have to do it all alone, Shamas. Receive the love. Love you too, the vent. You give me so much life. Okay. Hey, the Red Queen. Welcome, V. I'm happy that was an awesome explanation. Michael Wallace asks, how do I distinguish between my thoughts and my guides? Good question, Michael Wallace. A couple of things that I have done in the very beginning of my journey. This is taking me way back. I remember I had to journal it out in order to really get the clarity. The very first thing that I tried to get the clarity was non-dominant handwriting. I would literally keep a journal with me at pretty much all times, and I would write down, I would get all my thoughts out, especially first thing in the morning when they were rampant, write down all my thoughts and all of my insights and intuition. And then I would go with my non dominant hand and I would write a question, dominant hand, non dominant hand, right response. Write a question, dominant hand, non dominant hand, right response. Eventually, this came to the place where I became very clear about what my guidance was and what it wasn't and where it was coming from. Michael Wallace, you may also appreciate spirit release therapy as a clairaudient. You will find that it helps clarify for you the voices of your guides and your guidance. And there are also, what are they showing me? They were showing me a stone as we were talking about this, and that stone is specifically for tapping into your guides when you want to hear them. I don't know if you work with crystals, Michael, but this was, I don't know why they brought this up, but this was the vision they gave me. They were showing me when you want to talk to your guides in your non dominant hand, hold the crystal that connects you with them. They're showing me a white stone. I don't know if it's selenite or what. Hold the crystal that will connect you with them. Write what you need to write, and only hold that stone when you want to hear from them. Put it down, put it away, put it in a special pouch, set it aside. And then, if during the day you get messages, if you want to clarify what's going on with the message, center yourself, hold the stone, and ask for clarification when you get to your quiet time, your meditation time, your time to talk with them. The other thing I would say is that it's important to remember that, when you're really tapped in with your guides, they're not going to give you messages of fear. They're also not going to give you messages that make you crazy or anxious. They may tell you things you don't want to hear, and you may have an emotional response to that, but they're not going to tell you the crazy. So if you're experiencing the crazy, and any clairaudient is, kind of it for anyone with a spiritual gift, you can get open to sometimes the wrong channel on the radio. And so it's helpful to get clearings once in a while, and spirit release therapy can really help you do that. I would check out Dr. Terrence Palmer's website, Michael Wallace. That'll help. And then look up crystals and stones for connecting with your channeled guidance, and definitely do the non-dominant hand journaling. It'll help you start to parse out the voices until they get strong enough for you to hear. That's definitely my guides. This is definitely my higher self. This is definitely just my brain. The distinctions will start to become clearer and clearer with time. Gemini Princess asks, I'm getting twin flame energy from someone other than my twin. How can this be? Is he an Ascension partner? It's so confusing. Thank you, Kay and Guides. Yeah. Well, Gemini Princess, it's funny you should say this. Divine Pisces 222 is talking about this over on her channel this week. I think it was her twin flame channeled message, or maybe it was the daily guidance. It was sometime yesterday or Wednesday. And she was specifically talking about, and I've been shown this too, that we're at a choice point. Which is also, again, partly why I'm doing this work at this time. We are at a choice point. And this choice point is allowing, there was a period of time where you and your twin may have come together and twin chose not to. That energy can come land for you in a different being, and you will be given the opportunity to have pretty much precisely the same energy with a different a different soul, a different being. Pretty much, it's literally going to be exact. And so the other thing my guides are really kind of showing me as well is that as we are all ascending between these years of, 20, really they talked about from 2012 all the way through, 2030, but there's a quickening happening 2019 through 2025. And that quickening, we're experiencing that now in the year of 2020. During this quickening passageway, as we ascend, one of the things that will happen is that all the beings on planet Earth are going to start to have access to the things that were previously only accessible by twin flames. So the telepathy, the capacity to feel another person when you're not there with them, the deep and profound love. As our vibrations are ascending and as Earth is ascending, so too is our capacity to hold love and experience deep and profound life-changing love. This is a sign that the twins have done what they came here to do, that they anchored love. More and more souls are ascending into a higher frequency. And as such, the kind of experience that you may have only previously experienced with a twin can, in fact, come through another human being. And so, in circumstances where, twins not stepping forward or, not present or not accessible and has made the choice to live in a state of separation from self, which is what they're doing when they have chosen to separate from you. They're making a choice to be separated from self. There's a divorce energy inside of that person, inside of twin. When they've made that choice, you don't get left hanging. If you've been you have been so steeped in and anchored in and vibrating at such a high frequency of love, there is no other option than for the universe to fill that vacuum that's been created. And that's what's happening, is that your frequency has called out a signal or sent a signal that is so resonant and so clear that the universe is filling the vacuum, because the universe abhors a vacuum. It's one of the universal laws and divine mysteries. All vacuums get filled. Your frequency has chosen what it is, what this will get filled with. And the only option that you made possible in this period of time was that it was that frequency that you had with twin or nothing. And so that's what's coming in, Gemini Princess. So yeah, it's wild times. But this is why it's also so important, my guides are showing me, to stay centered and anchored in love. This is why it's so important to be in a place of operating from the heart center rather than premeditating and pre-calculating what can be done. Because once you're centered in the seat of love in your life, and your choices moment by moment come from that, as opposed to, I'm going to calculate this, and if this person isn't coming, then I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and I'm going to shut the door this way so they can't come back in, or if they do, they have to climb over the wall, over the moat, through the river, and up the castle wall in order to get to me. When you're not playing those games with yourself, and instead you're just, I love and I am present. I love and I am here. I love my person's not here. I love, I choose to stay in love. I love, I love, I love, 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 love. When you just stay in love and in the present moment, I forgive what's not happening. I forgive me. I forgive them. I forgive what is happening. Compassion for me, compassion for them. When you just stay anchored in love, that's when miracles can happen. And they may look other than what we thought we wanted our miracle to look like. It is no less of a miracle, because love has that power. So stay centered in your heart. this person, who knows what they're going to be. But if you stay centered in your heart, Gemini Princess, the truth will be revealed to you, and what there is for you to do will be revealed moment by moment. Okay. Amber Oasis, what if your twin flame believes they have a stronger spiritual connection with someone else? We have experienced we have experienced telepathy, but he says he experiences it on an even deeper level, on an even deeper with someone he calls his soulmate. Amber, that may be true at this particular point in time. That may be the case. If in fact, he is experiencing that with someone else, what could be going on is that, that's just where he is supposed to be at this particular moment in time. That doesn't mean that, he's not your twin. That doesn't mean that you guys aren't ever coming together at some point in the future. It just means that right now, he is having that experience with this human. As I just explained, as the earth rises in ascension frequency and we all ascend, some of the experiences that were only available for twins are now going to start to be available for people who are not. And that's actually a good thing. That's actually a gift. Thank God we are moving out of frequencies where people can just ghost and drop and harm people without thinking twice about it. We want the earthlings to be moving to higher frequencies of sensitivity and higher frequencies of love. We need that on planet Earth. We can't continue to exist at a place where we are this cut off from what it feels like to hurt other people. This isn't a viable way for earthlings to continue forward. We have to rise. And so if he's experiencing this with someone else, that doesn't mean anything less about your connection. Trust that he is where he is meant to be. You stay centered in love. You stay centered where you're at. You stay focused on what you need. And then from there, in that place of self-love, you will be shown what there is to do moment by moment, as opposed to pre-calculating it and premeditating it. Kylie, welcome. Hey, Kay, Purple Heart. I am tired. I'm going in all the good directions: work, school, mental. My twin seems to be going in the opposite direction. What's with the plateau I'm seeing? Yeah, good question. Let me just reset my energy here for a second. If you are enjoying this and you are like, okay, I like this kind of container, there is a step up from this. It is the mentorship program called Q&A with Kay. You can join it. There are seats still available. I just placed the link in the chat so you understand how to join it. Just go to Q&A with Kay at kmoonastro.com. The mentorship program is 4 weeks long, but what I'm looking forward to when we jump into the mentorship program is being able to hear your voices and hear context, so that as I'm coaching you and supporting you, we can really dive into what your particular situation is, and we can get you support around it in real time. There are limited seats available. There are people joining from the other side of the world who can't make the time zone work. I have set up a way for people to ask a question if they can't join in real time. I've set up a way for people to ask questions so that I can answer them when I am in the class. And that way, once you get the recording, you can hear the answer to your question. So what's with the plateau I'm seeing? This is very normal, Kylie. It's just a period where the two of you are having to catch up your conditions in your life with the soul growth that you have done over the last year. And so all twins go through periods of what feel like a plateau. Even twins who are together in a romantic partnership in the 3D world. And it's just, all it is it's a catching up. It's a allowing the physical world to start the process of being a more direct reflection of all of the growth you've done. Let's see. Michelle, in its second separation now, my twin has started reaching out via Instagram through direct messages. He asks how I am, but never responding back to me when I answer. Have compassion, but setting boundaries seems necessary. I mean, Michelle, if that's what your heart wants is boundaries, then do that. You know, if your heart is saying, I really don't like talking to this person right now, then do that. But there could be something in between, Michelle, where what you really want is to find out why he's not answering you and to get some clarity and some truth. And to say, hey, and to reveal yourself, to have some intimacy here, some real authentic connection. And that might sound a little bit like, hey, I love talking to you, and I actually really enjoy being connected. I've noticed that you ask me how I'm doing and I respond. It seems, and then I ask you how you're doing. I don't get a response. And there's a part of me that really feels sad when, you know, I share, but you don't share because I like being connected. I'm curious, you know, can we be better connected? Are you willing to share how things are going for you? And if so, I'd actually really love to talk on the phone. Are you open to either of these? That's a level of vulnerability that love would call one to step into. And that's well before I need to place boundaries because you're hurting me. It's willing to be in, I'm big enough to be with whatever your responses are because I know love heals me and I stay whole because I love. It's also a capacity to really understand, a willingness to understand what's actually happening for this person by not just assuming, presuming, or letting them off the hook. Because, oh, you're not responding to me, I'm just going to block you out and create some boundaries. That's letting them off the hook. They're playing tennis with you. They're just playing their weird way. They're still hitting the ball back. You just don't understand why when you're standing in one place, they're hitting it all the way over in a different direction. So ask, dude, okay, wait, hang on. What's going on here with the way you're playing tennis? Can you help me understand? That would be ideal. So you're big enough to get a real answer and to stay present. Do so. Let's see. I get it, the last indigo. That's a fear that you're going to need to sit with in the space of love for yourself. It's a painful place. They may give up. They may. They also may not. But either way, you have the capacity and you are big enough to be with that. Love heals you too. Okay. Amber Oasis, I suspect she is a soulmate, but I don't think he can open up to her the way he does to me. We also have all the other hallmarks of twin flame dynamic. We share similar child trauma and they do not. The label doesn't really matter, Amber, honestly, because we're all moving into that frequency of love. He may be the twin, he may not be. Not all twins are absolutely 100% guaranteed that they will come together in the lifetime they met. It would be awesome if they did. But one of the absolute best things and most frustrating things about planet Earth is that the human beings on it have free will. That is one of the best and worst things about planet Earth. It's one of the worst things because we see things like people walking into schools and killing other beings. We also see things like, people you have a deep soul connection with choosing to turn away from it. Simultaneously, this is a moment in time where there is a gift being given to planet Earth, because this frequency of all of us stepping into more love, this is an opportunity that is going to give you a chance to find and be with love that is real, no matter which body it presents in. Because all the humans are rising in these 5 to 10 years. And that is an exciting prospect, because as all the humans rise and we all start to feel so much more deeply and so much more profoundly from a programmatic perspective, the kinds of harm we do to one another on planet Earth has to drop. It's not possible to be in such high frequencies of love and still causing other people so much pain intentionally on planet Earth. So I know this is a hard one to be with, Amber. I know it's a hard one to be with. It's extremely difficult to recognize that, okay, so you've got a soul connection with someone that is not me. Wow. And there is a need to trust and to be with your own pain from a place of love well enough around this to say, what is it I'm trying to get or seek by making, like, being in resistance to this experience that you're having, needing to know who's the twin and who's not the twin. What is it I'm trying to get and seek out of that? There is something you're trying to get from that clarification, some kind of guarantee or some type of certainty or there's something you think that having that information is going to do for you. And what I'm saying here is that in the knowingness, it's not going to change the fact that he has this soul connection with this other person, number one. Number two, it's not going to change how you feel about him and with him. And number three, it is also not going to change that when you are seated in love, you have the capacity to move forward in a really healthy way from here. And we don't know what's going to happen with him and her, or him and you. We just don't know. Or we just don't know. And the label isn't going to make it any clearer. I know that is like, planet Earth, but this is part of the mastery experience when we step into love. Part of the mastery experience is really understanding, wow, my love does not demand that you be a certain way. My love sets you free to live your soul contracts and your life the way you and your guides are deciding is best for your soul at this time. It's other than how I would have it, but I have mastery enough with love and with myself to be with it and to create what I want, regardless of what's happening with you. Okay. Let's see. Is there anyone who's asked a question that I have not heard from? Because I noticed I've been talking to a few of the same people. I'm going to go down to the bottom and kind of work my way back. And we'll go a little bit longer. I'll go for about another 10 minutes, but I think we're kind of done with questions because I said I'd be on for about 90 minutes tonight. That's the time length of the classes, 90 minutes. And then we close out. But for now, I'll go for another 10 minutes just because I haven't been able to speak to some of you. So I'm going to go ahead and jump down to the bottom and try to do that. And answer a few questions from people I haven't heard from. Okay, let's see. CCE, may I please ask your guides how one may transition from not seeing spirits, angels to seeing them? How does that normally happen or work? As I've been told soon, I would be able to see. CC, it's interesting. Not everybody has the gift to see. Not everyone has the gift to hear. Not everyone has the gift to feel. You have a particular attunement for your particular gifts, and there isn't a pathway to force it open. There's just when they come online. And so I've had people say to me, hey, you're clairaudient. I'm trying to open up my clairaudience. How do I do it? And then I look at their astrology chart and I said, the reason it's not opening is because you're an empath. You're not a clairaudient. You weren't built to hear. You were built to feel and then to project feelings out, as well as your sensate information pulls energy and information in. I can't do that. I don't have that gift. And so the best thing I would say, CCE, is to take a moment to slow down and focus on where your attunements are, rather than trying to create an attunement where it's not. My clairaudience, so as for an example, showed up as a little bit of like an Achilles heel very early on in my life. I was extraordinarily sensitive to sound as a child, and even more so right before it opened up as an adult. I had all kinds of like sensitivity to sirens. I had sensitivity to music. Music could kill my mood, change my mood, raise my mood, change my mood. I had to always be extremely careful with what I listened to. I was sensitive to the sound of people's voices. Like I literally would leave the house with earphones or earplugs to drown out sound because I was so sensitive to it. And eventually, my clairaudience came online. In your case, you want to look at the 5 clairs. You want to pay attention to where your sensitivity is, because there is a correspondence between your sensitivity and your gift. It may be clairvoyance, it may not be. But trust that if you are already sensitive to sight and light, just keep following that and paying attention to light and really starting to work with light, because that's an indication that clairvoyance could be a tool for you that you're going to open up. Okay. Let's see. Natalie Shabrowski, I'm just wondering if me trusting my intuition and no longer questioning it and just trusting this and my guides without question is growth, or should I be questioning it more? It's a journey, Natalie. It's a journey. What I would say around trusting your own intuition is that when it's there will be times where in your growth and development you're going to learn things, I hate to say it, but from the shadow or the hard way. Trusting your intuition will sometimes, as you strengthen your intuition, lead you into places that you'd rather not be. I'll be real honest about that. Um, and it'll also lead you to places you always dreamed of and wanted because you listened and trusted. The reason this is happening is because intuition is a muscle, it has to be worked. But the only way you find the optimal way to work it is by sometimes going too far, pushing too hard. And it's like going to the gym and pulling a muscle when you're lifting weights. It's like, oh gosh, I went too far this time. I got to take it easier. And other times, not leaning in enough. So I think the questioning helps as long as it's allowing you to be in inquiry about what's true and you're making the distinction between instinct and intuition. Because your instinct is always going to be based on your lived experience, your templated mind, and your fears. Instinct and intuition are 2 very different things, and you want to be grounded in intuition. So keep practicing. Um, Morgane Zabek, I don't know that that is true. I haven't seen that to be true. And I don't know what you mean by activated Morgane Zabek. The ascension process that twins are leading for a lot of the earthlings, that is happening whether you've had sex with that person or not. You are going to be ascending, and so are they. And the frequency of love is going to continue to rise and amplify, whether you've had sex or not. And that frequency, as long as it's amplifying in you, you're going to be doing light work around love, the topic of love, with everyone you encounter in your world. And so, if that's what you mean by activated, then no, you don't have to have sex. Okay, let's see. Let me scroll back. Diane, when I hear about the twin flame journey, I often hear about being on our mission. How can one know what mission is? Personally, I feel too lost, stuck in my life to have an idea. That's normal, Diane. We all go through periods of lost and stuckness in our lives. What I would say about this is that when it comes to mission, there is the greater mission of anchoring love and the frequency of love on planet Earth. That's the main mission. This whole drama, this whole palaver around twins and loving in this new way was meant to do. It was meant to raise the frequency and the understanding of love and the power that love actually has, as opposed to the enslavement template around love and relationship that human beings have had previously. So for you, feeling a little lost and stuck, the whole idea of a mission, it's not always what we think it is. You are likely doing your mission without even knowing it. You're too valuable to have let roam the earth without actually doing it. You're too important. My guides once told me, they said, if we were waiting on a person to move to Alaska to save humpback whales, or if we were waiting on twins to come together to teach people a certain thing, or if we were waiting on a person to, build water wells in Africa, we would be waiting for forever for missions to get done. They showed me, they're like, this is not the way it works. Missions are actually a lot more frequency based. They are like purpose, which is like a driver of a car. The driver of the car can upgrade the car and pick a different car at any moment in time. You can drive a Lexus, a Subaru, an Audi, a BMW. You can save whales, save kids, intervene in human trafficking. You can do whatever you want with that expression of love. And that's the mission, expressing love. Passion is the vehicle you're expressing love with. Now, you can drive that passion into the world with any vehicle you want. It is up to you. You can drive that purpose into the world however your passions are aligned. But if you're waiting on them or waiting to get to a certain place in your life, you're overlooking the obvious, that there is a way that you were built, a thing that you are giving, a way you're already being, and a something you're already doing that is the mission, that you are already on it. And in so doing that, this thing, it's already working. It's already playing out. You and your twin could decide together and decide to build like a pet shelter and save abandoned animals. That could be fun for a decade of your lives. But that doesn't have to be, if you're not doing that, that doesn't mean you're failing. And it's really important to get that you were too important to waste on waiting around in a realm of free will to get to a particular place with a particular person to do a particular thing for it to be mission. You were too important for that kind of waiting. You're already doing the thing. It can be amplified and it could also be redirected. But what you want to understand for yourself is, what is the thing I'm already doing, the way I'm already being, the thing people are already relying me for, the way my life has already built me for something special that I am already doing, being, and giving. And how is this love that I've experienced with my twin amplifying this thing that I'm already doing, being, and giving? Because you are not being wasted. I guarantee you that. They are not waiting on you, and you should not be waiting on him or her. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me scroll down here and Chrissy the Pisces, this will be our last question. And if you're enjoying this, you're welcome to go ahead and enroll in Q&A with Kay. It starts next Friday, but enrollment closes on Wednesday. And in that small group container, I'll be able to hear your voice and coach you a bit more directly on situations that you may want more intimacy around. We won't be exposing all of it on YouTube. So if that's something you want as a private group and more community, this Q&A with Kay, the private mentorship program for twin flames and for light workers, is the way to go. It's a 4-week opportunity where we'll meet 90 minutes every week to dive deep on these things. And rather than asking a singular question, we can kind of have a little bit more dialogue. Just head over to kmoonastro.com and look for Q&A with Kay. That's how you can enroll. So let me go ahead and take a look here. Chrissy the Pisces, in separation, if one twin is going through hard times, does it have any effect on the other twin? And I just want to, I'll speak to that, but I also see this conversation. Morgane, I just want to speak to that and validate what Wendy has said here. You can ask them to turn down the volume on that particular state of union, given where the two of you are at. Because being able to feel what's going on with your twin, and this pertains to you as well, Chrissy the Pisces, is a state, it's a pre-union state and a pre-union energy. It's one of the ways that lets you know there's a coming together, a merging of the fields happening here. But if that's not something you're ready to experience, you can definitely ask them to find the dial for that and turn that down. Let them know I'm not open to that state of union at this time. So that's an option. Chrissy, yes, it can have an effect. It doesn't have to have an effect, Chrissy. A couple of things about this is that you may notice that if they're having a hard time, or if you're having a hard time, then they start to, fall. Like if they're in a ditch, it's like you fall into, but from your own perspective. Or, based on your own life circumstances, suddenly you're upset about things that previously you were coping okay with. You can do a couple of things. The first thing is you want to find psychic and meditative practices, Chrissy, that allow you to stay sovereign in your own field. That's the first thing. It's incredibly important that if they fall in the ditch, you don't fall in the ditch too, because they're gonna go through stuff. That's life. You're gonna go through stuff. That's also life. But what's happening as we're all rising in frequency is a need to understand how deeply connected we all actually are. We are all actually incredibly deeply connected. And as I said earlier, these connections, as Earth rises in frequency and ascension, the way we're so deeply connected with our twin, we're actually going to start to be able to have that level of depth of connection with more than just our twin. And so cultivating practices that allow you to understand what's going on without needing to feel what's going on is going to be incredibly important as we move forward in the future. And this is how, from a state of mastery in your light work, you can be in a difficult situation at work among coworkers arguing and bickering and actually stay present, witness it, project light, love, and empathy into, not empathy, but light and love into the situation to tame the situation, to calm it down. You can project harmony into the situation without ever needing to feel it on the inside of you. It's also important, once you are feeling your twin's connection on the inside of you, that you learn skills to discharge, to release the energy, to transmute it. If energy is coming your way, it can move through. It doesn't have to anchor in if it's not yours and it's very heavy from their side. So a few mastery lessons there for sure to take on, Chrissy. Discernment about when it's your energy versus when it's theirs, but also energy conduction about how to leverage and understand how to move and work with energy when it's not yours, so that you are not falling in the ditch every time your coworkers have an argument, your family is going through something, your twin is going through something. You cannot continue to be the psychic dumping ground or container or receptacle of everyone's hard time. There's some mastery skills that we're all going to need to learn as we move into this next chapter of humanity on planet Earth, because our sensitivities are going to rise. And in this next chapter, it's going to be super key, super critical that as our sensitivities rise, so too do our abilities to work with energy without being sucked under by energy. Okay. So much love to you guys. I deeply appreciate everyone being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Nana, I think that's you. If it's you, shout out. Hello, girl. I'm happy to see you. If it's not you, then somebody tell Nana I said hello. But I think it's her. Sending you big love. And all of my crew from Spiritual Baddie Tarot, hello and big love to you. And everyone else that's been part of the K-Moon tribe for a little bit, I just want to say thank you. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to be able to share my gifts with you, and for you all to have received them in such a kind and loving way and shared so much support with one another in the process. It's her. Yes. Nada, hello. Big love to you, girl. And so, yeah, I gotta say, like, there was a while back, where I was just like sitting on all this information my guides gave me. But the moment I shared it with someone was the moment I started to feel free and started to finally feel like I could breathe again in my twin connection. And when I started to share it, and people started feeding back like, oh, that makes sense. That resonates with my guidance. My guide showed me this, or I got this guidance about it. It was such a relief to know, like, okay, I'm not crazy. And I've opened up Q&A with Kay so that you can understand you're not crazy either. What you're going through is normal. And honestly, being on the front lines of these changes happening on planet Earth, I gotta say, you guys, you're heroes. You really are. You're doing such good work. And I know you can't see it. And I know it doesn't always feel like it. And I know it's confusing. I know it can be heartbreaking at times and so unclear what happens next. I just want to tell you, you're doing awesome. Keep feeling love and letting love show you what to do next. As much as you can, turn down the volume in the head, amplify what's happening in the heart, and let the heart show you what is the right thing to do moment by moment by moment. That's the only way we're going to survive as humans on the earth, is if we continue to start to pull into the heart and lead from the heart. And you guys on the front line, man, I know your families don't get it. I know your coworkers don't understand. I know your kids are giving you all kinds of side eye, like what is he or she doing? I know they don't get it. But I want you to know you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're leading. And rather than trying to shave off sides of the piece of your puzzle to fit in a place that was never meant for you, shine your light, stay in love, and find the place where you do fit. Okay? I love you guys so much. And I thank you guys for being such great community for one another tonight. And thank you for subscribing. If you're new, once again, welcome. And if you're curious, sign up for Q&A with Kay. We've got a lot more where this came from, 4 weeks of it, deep coaching, lots of insights, and I'll actually be able to hear your voice. Thanks so much. You can sign up over at kmoonastro.com. Just look for Q&A with Kay to reserve your spot before Wednesday, the 19th. Thanks, everyone. Take great care. Have a great night. Bye for now.